So, remember my lukewarm opinion of the movie The Batman? Well, now I've seen The Penguin, the show starring Colin Farrell, and the veritable mountain of prosthetics used to transform him into Oz Cobb, the up and coming snake in the grass in the underworld of Gotham City. And boy, was this show good. Like, Farrell killed it, for starters. He did a really good job. I was not expecting the show to be as good as it was, in all honesty. I dare say it had no right to be so good. I found it better, so much better, really, than the movie. Possibly because it involves no messing around with the somewhat beloved character of Bruce Wayne, Batman himself. And as you know, I believe that there are no hard and fast rules for comic book adaptations because of just the sheer amount of comics that exist. There are too many versions nowadays to play by anything that is to be considered lore accurate. Everything is viable at this point. But there is a version of the Batman character that I personally prefer, and it's not the version that I got in the movie. But this version of the Penguin, I like him. I mean I really do. He's penguiny enough and a weaselly, two-faced kind of gangster and formerly the right-hand man of Carmine Falcone, the sort of kingpin of Gotham in a lot of ways. Spoilers, of course, for both the show and the movie. Um, but after Carmine Falcone's death, we are treated to this show about the fallout of his demise, with Oz moving up the ladder through murder and subterfuge and all sorts. He's really clever and he's hard and cold, but he has some heart to him, some sympathy to his character, and a heart that is slowly over the course of the show and surgically removed to make him a real villain by the end. Um, and and even better that he's dealing with the kind of twisty turny gang politics, and he's dealing with the Falcone family, especially you might even say the villain of the show is Carmine's daughter, Sophia, who has now been released from Arkham Asylum, and she is a wonderful character. Look, I really am just blown away by the writing and acting in this show because I'm enthralled, like suspension of disbelief and all that, and the ability to convince me especially to ignore every little change to the so-called lore and every new addition or odd choice. I'm just I'm willing to look over because it feels very good. Any misstep is 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 outshone by the acting and writing of the Penguin. The characters are just compelling and complicated, and there are many like morally good characters to offset the genuinely horrible people littering this sort of dark underworld setting. And Sophia Falcone, in particular, played by the incredible Kristen Milioti, I think her name is, who I now sort of just adore because she plays such a complicated and sympathetic character, more so even than Oz, I think, who is also brilliant, of course. But Sophia is a uh, very great, compelling character. Like I said, she slides from necessary evils in order to survive to this sort of willful evil, like crazy throughout this beautiful show. And meanwhile, Oz is like well and truly on that sort of willful evil side of things, the cold and calculating, the struggling to get every scrap of power and authority he can. But he does have this good side, like I said, um, and that's kind of what makes the show work in a lot of ways. These two characters fighting against each other, really, uh, and neither of them are wholly evil, and they're definitely not wholly good. And it's tied together with characters like Vic, who is Oz's sort of reluctant pet driver, right? This young guy who's way in over his head, and he's got some depth to him too. He's smart, and I think if he'd had a worse actor, or been written just a little bit worse, I think he could have come across as unnecessary to the plot. Um, but he really is useful to the story in playing off Oz and adding some layers to the main character, which is what you want from a side character, in all honesty. He turns out really well. And by the end, okay, yeah, let's just say that things with Vic take a really interesting turn, and I'll say no more than that. Uh, the Penguin is just hands down one of my favorite shows of the year. It's dark and brilliant, and in my opinion, even better than the movie, The Batman. Um, and a slight spoiler, of course, but it's nothing too serious. The Penguin, right, Oz, he does end up dressed in a tux with a top hat by the end. He looks like the original character, which is kind of great because I love the original character to death. And this show does honor to Oswald Cobblepot, uh, despite them slightly tweaking his name for an arguably more realistic gangster character. So, yeah. Like and subscribe if you want to hear me talk about more of these sorts of things. I've been Connor Landon Freeman, author and game designer, and yeah, bye.